A very good evening and good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are listening to this conversation from. This is the She Leads Livecast brought to you courtesy of ZionPearl Publishers and the She Leads Project. Today is Thursday, 7:30 is the time, 7:46 I mean. And as always, we bring you an exciting conversation that touches on a number of aspects of leadership and specifically women's leadership. So today being Thursday, I am so excited. I am so thrilled and quite ready to be able to tap into what is going to be discussed today. I want to begin by apologizing that we are starting the conversation a bit late. There was a small technical hitch. We could not be able to go live at the expected time, but I'm glad that finally we are able to do this. So if you can be able to hear the sound of my voice, I just want to welcome you once again on this Thursday, the 14th of December, 2023. And we, as I said, are going to have an exciting moment in the discussion that we are having today. Because of the few technical issues that we had, there was a little mishap and a mix-up of things here and there, including what was captured here as the title. But today's discussion is going to be the importance of women's inclusion in issues of leadership and governance. And we are going to have an amazing guest. I'm just going to wait for her to join in. I can see she's already in the room. Nyokabi, if you can hear me, what I need you to do is just click that emoji that says you're raising your hand so that I can be able to admit you onto the speakers panel. And as soon as you're there, you will be able to speak and share with us the insights that you have prepared to share with us today. Meanwhile, if you are joining us right now, I just want to welcome you again on this discussion today. The topic of the day being the importance of women's inclusion. And we are going to be joined by Nyokabi Ngari, who is going to take us through that discussion. Meanwhile, as we wait for her, I just want to encourage you to alert people in your network, let them know that we are live and that the discussion is already picking up. Topic of discussion today is the importance of women's inclusion. As I said earlier, the conversation is brought to you by ZionPearl Publishers in partnership with the She Leads Project. She Leads Project is a project that concerns itself with women and the involvement in leadership, and specifically learning from their experiences and using those experiences to be able to initiate conversations and necessary interventions as a way of bridging the gaps that still exist in the spaces of leadership in as far as the involvement of women is concerned. As we speak today, we still have a huge gap and a lot of work to be done in the area of inclusion, gender parity, and importantly, the active involvement and contribution of women in issues of leadership. And as I say this, I know there's a lot of work that has been done so far to be able to bring us to the place where we are today. The terrain looks a little better than it was some 50 years ago, a century ago, because of the enormous effort and work that has been done by several stakeholders from different backgrounds and different industries in different parts of the world. People have labored to be able to get us to a place where we are today. But as we speak, we still feel that there is a lot more that can be done, and therefore the project wants to contribute towards moving the needle in the right direction by shining a spotlight on the women that have been in leadership and picking necessary lessons from their experiences, from their insights, and from the recommendations that they have to make based on their leadership practice or leadership experiences. And as we do this, we are so keen on making sure that we build literature around that. And this is very important because in the context where we live, there is very little literature that has been built that can really paint a picture of the situation in our space. And this is, of course, coming from the fact that a lot of what has been used as reference material in our space is literature that has been written or developed from other contexts, other parts of the world. And of course, the fact that very little documentation has been done in our space, either it's coming from research work or personal experiences. And therefore, we find ourselves in a situation where there is an over-reliance on materials and literature from other parts of the world. And so the project wants to bridge that gap, make sure that from the lessons, from the experiences of leaders who have practiced locally, we can be able to build literature that can be able to be used as reference material or as fodder to be able to influence the mindsets, the philosophies, the practice, and even certain structures that are built, like policies and regulations and curriculums that are used in the process of leadership capacity building process. And of course, beyond that, we're just interested in celebrating the contribution and the work of the women leaders that have had an opportunity to take on leadership responsibilities in our spaces. And that way we are able to demonstrate models of exceptional leadership. And that should be able to inspire the many other people that want to join in or want to enter into those spaces. So that basically is the background of the project. One of the things that comes out of the project is a body of literature, as I've said, in volumes of books. So far, we have done and published 2 books, 2 volumes. Each of those has about 14 to 18 women. We have another 2 volumes coming up in the month of February, the 2nd, 2024, with another set of astute women leaders. And we are hoping that from them, we can be able to see a lot more than we have seen so far. Of interest to mention is the fact that one of those volumes has a compilation of insights and experiences and recommendations from women who are involved in coaching and mentorship and leadership capacity building processes. And we think that's going to be a very, very important volume because they speak from the capacity building angle of things, and therefore helping us to see the necessary areas that may be of interest to us in terms of capacity building and positioning of women to be able to be functional in leadership spaces and productive, because beyond occupying a space, leadership is measured by the impact that is created. And this is a product of mindsets and skill sets. And therefore, the capacity building process is very important in achieving that. So that volume is coming up, as I said, on the month of February the 2nd, 2024. It is going to be launched together with another volume that has insights and experiences from women leaders who are not necessarily involved in capacity building processes. Well, that should be it for the background of the project. I was saying that as I wait for my guest, Nyokabi, to join me on the speakers panel. Nyokabi, if you can hear me, please indicate for me, because I want to admit you into the speakers panel so you can be able to speak and share with us what's in your mind and heart today. And how you do that, you click that emoji that says you're raising your hand. As soon as I spot you raising your hand, I will permit you to join the speakers panel, and then you will be able to speak to us. So if you can hear me, Nyokabi, please let me know. So that we can start. Trying to see if I can locate her, because I can see that Nyokabi is already in here, but she's not raising her hand the way I expect her to do. If you can hear me, Nyokabi Ngari, I am so much ready for you. I am so much ready to engage in the conversation. Okay, looks like she is not He is not able to get me. All right, Nyokabi, I can see you now. You had raised your hand here, then it disappeared. Just do it again. I will be able to admit you quickly so that we can continue with the conversation. Well, my name is Dooso Radido. I'm the Operations Director at ZionPearl Publishers, and today I'm going to host this conversation. It's a conversation that is of interest to me in so many ways, based on what I know so far. Let me just try to get her again. Yes, I can see you raising your hand, Nyokabi. Yeah, finally she's in the speakers panel. Nyokabi, if you can hear me, please unmute your microphone and say hello to us.
Hi, Dooso.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you are loud and clear. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Nyokabi, you may need to unmute your microphone. You may need to unmute your microphone. Yes, we have you in the speakers panel. So if you can hear me, please let me know. If any of you can hear me, please let me know so that I'm also sure that what I am saying is audible enough. If you could indicate, I will be glad. Nyokabi, can you hear me now? Hello, Nyokabi, can you hear me?
Hi, Dooso.
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know, I'm not able to hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Let me try to fix my gadgets again. I will try to fix my gadgets again so we can be able to communicate properly. Please let me know if you can be able to hear me. We seem to have lost Nyokabi again. Nyokabi, if you can raise your hand, and if you can hear me, please let me know so that we can start this conversation right away.
Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry about that, I couldn't hear anything.
All right, thank you. I think
hope you can hear me.
Yes, you are loud and very clear.
Okay, fantastic.
Well, so much welcome. I know you've been struggling with the gadgets to try and get here. We had admitted you in here, but unfortunately you were not able to hear what I am saying, but I could hear you pretty well. But I'm glad that right now we are able to communicate, and we should be able to start the conversation. So I had just done a little introduction about what the topic of the day is, and even apologize that the link we had generated earlier developed a problem, and therefore we were forced to come up with another one pretty quickly, which is what we are using now, and I'm glad that it is working. So without wasting so much time, I will allow you, Nyokabi, to just come to the podium and help us put into perspective what we are discussing today, and why it's even important. And before you do that, I will just usher you in with a question. Why does this really matter to you, Nyokabi? Why do you bother yourself with this?
With women in governance or women in leadership?
Women in governance, women inclusion. Basically, we call it inclusion. It's governance and leadership, and sometimes we want them to participate actively in other aspects of growth and development in the community that we live in.
Yes.
Yep.
I think as before I move on to my presentation, why this is very important to me is because we cannot have leadership and not have governance. Because governance, as it is, governance is what holds most of the companies, most of the country, our country businesses. Governance is everywhere, but people only think of governance as a form of politics.
Yes.
So why it means so much to me is because when I look at governance, I see accountability. I see people being operating fairly, and I see people having the best interest at heart for the people. So that's why it means so much to me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I will allow you to briefly tell us who you are and then give us your presentation. Then we'll come back with a few questions once you are done with your presentation.
Okay, Sawa, thank you. So my name is Nyokabi Ngari. I am a qualified lawyer, a human rights advocate with interest in gender and social development. I specialize in gender, peace, security, leadership, and governance. I am a gender and sustainable development consultant, having been in the gender space now for a couple of years, and I am the founder of African Women Global Network. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Because we have already eaten into your time, I will just allow you to go straight into the presentation. And then we will pick up questions later once we have allowed you to exhaust what you had prepared for us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'll be brief. So the topic of discussion today is on importance of women inclusion in governance processes. So as we all know, it is the fundamental right of women to participate in decision-making tables and at all levels, in any businesses, company, and even the country. But we find that, or we observe that many businesses, companies, and countries find it difficult to adequately involve women in governance systems. So women constitute over 0.5% of the population of many countries, but have not been. But actually, they've been most of them have not been given an opportunity to participate in governance and development processes. So, what am I trying to say? We cannot have governance without good leadership. So, as women, as much as yes, we talk about governance, I believe that you cannot just give someone that position who has no leadership or leadership qualities. So maybe I can look at leadership and then we look at governance, so that we look at the qualities that leaders should have, and in this case, women leaders should have. So as we all know, effective leadership should inspire, motivate, and guide individuals and groups towards a common goal. So looking at leadership in itself, leadership goes beyond titles and positions. So it is the ability to influence and inspire others. Effective leaders possess visionary thinking and the capacity to set clear goals and strategies. They lead by example, upholding ethical principles and displaying integrity. So let's look at a few key aspects of impactful leadership. A leader should have a vision and a purpose. So a woman leader, in this case, should have, in fact, it's actually not just a woman leader, it's both. Anyone who's a leader should have a vision and a purpose. So a strong leader articulates a compelling vision for the future, and this instills purpose and direction in the team, organization, or in the country. Also, a leader should have a form of empowerment in them, whereby they can empower others to succeed in this hallmark of great leadership. So leaders should recognize the nurture and potential in their team members, fostering a culture of trust and autonomy. A leader should also be a very good communicator, because effective communication is vital for conveying the vision, setting expectations, and providing feedback. Leaders listen actively, they engage in open dialogue, and should ensure transparency. A leader should also be adaptable. Leaders must navigate through uncertainty and change with adaptability. This will ensure that they embrace innovation and they stay open to new ideas, which enable them to lead through various challenges. Well, a lot of the leaders nowadays don't have something that I really believe in, which is emotional intelligence. And this is something that every leader should have for as long as you are in position of leadership. Emotional intelligence makes you understand and manage emotions, and it also helps you technically you're able to understand what others are about. It also enables you to foster empathy. It makes you build strong relationships, and it also helps you resolve conflicts. A leader should also be able to make decisions. So a lot of times we find that there are people who are very indecisive, and this is not a very good quality for a leader. So what leaders should be is they should be decisive, and leaders make informed and timely decisions, and considering available data and seeking advice when necessary. Decisiveness inspires confidence and helps propel the organization forward. So these are some of the qualities that I think leaders should have. And why I thought of first looking at leaders is because I need us to understand what why when you look at governance, you need to have a very effective leader. So when you look at governance, as I had said earlier, governance is about ensuring that there's fairness and there's accountability. So if we are to define governance, governance is the system, refers to the systems and processes through which organizations and societies are managed and controlled. Good governance, it ensures transparency, accountability, and fairness. So let's look at the essential elements of effective governance. I'll explain. So we have the rule of law. As I had mentioned earlier, people think that governance is about politics. Governance is not really about politics. Governance is your business. You need governance in your business. You need governance in your company. You need governance in the country. This is what will help you to manage or to be accountable to a lot of things, including resources. Because a lot of times we'll find that we fight because someone has misappropriated resources, and resources are a lot of times public resources, company resources, business resources. It could be anything. So why are we looking at the rule of law? We're looking at the rule of law because upholding the rule of law will ensure that an individual or no individual or entity is above the law. This will foster an environment of fairness and justice. When you talk about above the law, we will find that in countries there are people who feel like they're above the law and they feel like they can misappropriate funds for whatever reason and they're not held accountable. In companies, the same thing happens, whereby you'll find that there are people who misappropriate funds or misbehave. Let's say, for example, a lot of the things that happen in companies sometimes are sexual assaults, and those are very likely to be reported. And in businesses, there's also misappropriation of resources. And people are not held accountable. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what kind of policies you have. For as long as that company is in existence, it means that it is held. For as long as the company is in existence, then it means that anyone is to be held accountable based on the constitution, on their policies, on their memorandum. Anything that any laws that govern the company are what should hold people accountable. And this is what will guide in fairness and justice. Another element we look at is accountability, and this is where transparent accountability mechanism hold leaders and institutions responsible for their actions. Accountability promotes trust among citizens and stakeholders. We also have something called participatory decision-making. This is where inclusive governance involves citizens in decision-making. Women at this point based on the fact that we're talking about women today, if women are not put in the decision-making table, then it is very difficult for decisions that affect them to be discussed. A lot of times we look at issues that affect people, and most of the times women are normally the victims of a lot of the things that happen. When it comes to when it comes to insecurity, it's the women who are affected. When it comes to anything that needs the attention of the public affects women. And if a woman is not sitting in a table where policies are being discussed, where solutions are being discussed, then it means that their voice is not going to be heard. Public participation is very important at this point, because if we are not having public participation, if people are not coming in to give their views, then it means that those laws are going to eventually will be null and void, and they will not be for the people, they will not help anybody. So public participatory decision making is very important. Also, economic and social development is also very key, whereby effective governance prioritizes economic growth, social welfare, and equitable distribution of resources to address societal needs. Anti-corruption measures. Strong governance fights corruption at all levels, which in this case is more for safeguarding the public resources and fostering a culture of integrity. And sustainable development, whereby governance that promotes sustainable practices safeguards the environment for future generations. Sustainable development, people don't understand what exactly we mean by sustainable development, but this is where, as I said, governance promotes development for the sake of the people. And if women, as I said earlier, women are the ones who suffer the most at the end of the day, and these practices safeguards the environment for future generations. So the generation, everything that is being decided, and the laws that we decide today are what affects the future. And a lot of the times, women, given that they experience this firsthand, they sit at a better position to understand exactly what is happening and to see or find solutions to the issues that are there. That's why it's very important for them to be put in the decision table. So what is the impact of leadership and governance? Well, leadership and governance work hand in hand, and the synergy between them is crucial for the success of any business, any company, any organization or country, because at the end of the day, you cannot appreciate good governance if you're not a good leader or if you do not possess the good qualities of leadership. We can look at looking at the challenges that are hindering women participation in governance. These include social, cultural, and religious resistance. What do I mean by this? We live in a society whereby we are very deep rooted in culture, and the woman's place is in the house. That is what has been believed for a very long time. People think that we've moved away from that culture, but it's still there, and it's really deep rooted. And women are still fighting to be in that space, because you'll find that women sometimes get into you'll find you get employment. You're sitting in an office, you're sitting on a board, but there are issues that you cannot address, or there are conversations that you cannot get. You'll find yourself not being allowed to get into. So your voice is really not heard, because there's a perception that the men are the ones who make decisions. So social, cultural, and religious resistance is there, and it's still there, and it continues to be there. I don't know how it's going to be fought. So we also have poor civic education amongst women, whereby women don't know about their rights. Women don't understand what the Constitution is about. They don't understand what their place is. People don't understand what public participation is about. People don't understand. Women, in this case, do not understand that they have a voice, and their voice needs to be heard. So this is also a challenge that is there, because we don't have organizations, or we don't have information is not readily available for people to understand where exactly their place is in decision making. So this is also a challenge that we have, whereby people take advantage of the fact that people are not aware, and therefore they're not included in governance. So there's also lack of women-centered public policies, and the fact that we lack women-centered public policies is one of our biggest challenges, because there can never be women-centered policies if women are not allowed to sit on that table. There can never be women-centered public policies if we don't have a he for she who is fighting for the woman. So it's very difficult to have women-centered public policies if there's no one representing the woman. We also have poor family support, whereby women sometimes are not supported by their families, and a lot of times this happens because again of the culture that we live in. We have a social culture resistance, and this has affected families. So there's also another challenge is patriarchal dominance in the operations in organizations, businesses, governments, whereby it's the men who sit in the top seats, and this of course will result to them making decisions. So anything that if they do not believe in a certain culture, it will be very difficult for them to pass it in the company or in the country or in the organization. So this is also something that is a very big challenge in that, and it's also hindering women in participating in governance. So why is it important to have women included in governance? From where I sit, I believe that when women are included, then effective governance is carried out with a clear vision, strong values, and a commitment to the common good. That is one. Number two, by including women, we create a foundation for progress, for stability, and for societal well-being. And number three, by including women, we are building strong and ethical leadership, coupled with transparent and effective governance, which in the end provides the necessary conditions for a flourishing and inclusive society. So as I said, my presentation was not very long. So in my conclusion, there's a study that was concluded, and this expressed that the participation of women in governance is not only significant but timely, and it's necessary for inclusive governance and sustainable development in any country. It is recommended that countries, of course, will initiate strategies, and companies will also come up with strategies to ensure that women are given adequate opportunities to participate actively in governance. The strategy, as advised, should include establishing a policy that gives women equal rights and opportunities to participate in executive, for a country to participate in executive, legislative, and judicial functions, and if in a company, it's for women to participate in boards, to sit on management teams, and in businesses, for women to be for women innovation, for women's innovative mind to be heard and to be adhered to. I think I'm done with my presentation, Dooso.
Oh, thank you so very much, Nyokabi. That is quite detailed. I appreciate you for that. I've been taking some notes here. There are two important things that I think would be of concern to me, which would be the basis of the first few questions I'm going to ask you. Number one, you began by looking at leadership, and then you went into governance. You created an impression in my mind that governance is a function of leadership. So if there is no proper leadership, we almost cannot expect good governance. Is that what you're trying to say?
That is what I'm trying to say, yes.
All right, thank you so very much. So when we talk about leadership, my understanding of leadership is that leadership is a capacity. It has a mindset to it and a skill set to it, and a lot of what we call leadership functions are actually a product of those two things, strategically used to be able to perform certain functions and achieve certain results.
Yes.
With that in the background, we have men and women. Basically, we have two genders in the world, men and women, leave alone these other stories that are coming up lately.
Yes.
Men are always assumed to show up as leaders. A man is born and everybody thinks they are leaders. I don't know how true that is. Probably you may give me your thoughts about that. But women are expected to become leaders or become this thing. Men are assumed to be born with it, and then women are supposed to become that in the course of their lives, which probably would be the basis of the many assumptions that have been done, that have been running our communities around, that assumes that man is always head, even if he's headless. I mean, people just assume because this is man, they assume to be that. So my question is, what do you estimate to be the capacity of women to perform leadership functions and governance responsibilities?
Pardon? What is that?
What is your estimation of the capacity of women to do this thing?
Okay. Well, first, of course, there's that assumption that men are expected to be leaders. But I think from where we sit, we have come to understand that we have qualities of leadership. Now, with women, there are women. Okay, let me put it this way. Starting from where you had started earlier, there's men and there's women, and there's that expectation. So now, how do my expectation of women becoming good in governance and leadership is also the same expectation I have of a man. So if they don't have the qualities of leadership, then I do not expect them to have to carry out the governance processes effectively. So I believe both genders have to have the leadership qualities in them for them to be able to carry out governance. But then again, not everyone is born a leader, and not everyone is a leader. Yes. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. So that the disparity we have here, just going by numbers, and I'm just going to use a very gross assumption. We tend to see more men in leadership positions and leadership roles than women. I know that statement is not absolutely true, but that is how it tends to look like.
Because that's how it is. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So that glaring difference is not a secret. It's obvious. It's obvious that we have more men performing leadership functions than women.
Yes.
Is it supposed to be the right of women to lead, or must they be given this as an opportunity? Because you keep calling it as an opportunity when it comes to women, but then you don't call it an opportunity when it comes to men. Must it be an opportunity when it comes to women and a natural right when it comes to men?
No, not exactly. But I think it's how we've been socialized also, whereby we've been made to believe that women should be given an opportunity. But I think that's why when I started, I said it is the fundamental right of women to participate in decision making. But due to the fact that we do not know our rights, and due to the fact that we've been socialized to believe that the man is the one the man is the one who should be a leader, then I think that is where the challenge is, because even when you listen to women sometimes, no, actually not women, but men, sometimes they'll tell you, they'll tell you empower women too much that they bring their empowerment to the house. So that also becomes another challenge, because men think that women are being empowered for them to be leaders both out here and in their homes. So now women tend to have that scare or that worry whereby they don't want to be assumed that they're coming to take up the man's role at home, which of course will cause issues. So I think it's a society thing that maybe we need to deal with, or maybe we need to find ways to work around it. But yes, it's not the only reason we talk about opportunity is because we have been it has been put in our minds that women are being given an opportunity. That's why even when you look at the 2/3 gender rule, I think it's the same thing, whereby people think that give us an opportunity at least to be, so yeah, it's not how it's not what it's supposed to be, but that's how it has been.
And you're raising a very pertinent issue, because the consequence of including women into leadership is the fact that we will begin to see certain dynamics coming up that are not compatible with the social order. And yeah. I know you talked about socio-cultural and religious resistance. I like the way you crafted that term. But you realize that the example you've just given right now is a truth, so that maybe the world has never tested what it means really for women to fully express themselves as leaders. And I know as we talk about this, it becomes a threat to men largely. I don't know how that is a threat to the other aspects of creation, but it becomes a threat to the socio-cultural norm that is majorly propagated by men. So as we talk about women inclusion in government and leadership, how should it be done in such a way that we don't lose men because we are trying to save women?
Yeah, I think first, yes, men are the gatekeepers in so many ways, in so many things. So I feel like the conversation that we should, every conversation we have should have men included. So in what I believe currently, for us to not have men as our enemies, I think the 2/3 gender rule is one way of doing things, whereby we show men that we are humble enough to just have 2/3. We are not asking for too much. So you can still have a bigger percentage, but at least have us, so that we also don't kill the ego of the man, and we also don't lose the man in the process. Because I am a huge believer that women are very strong-willed, and I believe that when women take up spaces, they take them with their all, 100%. So for us not to lose our men in the process, I think what is currently there right now, the 2/3 gender rule, should be there and should be embraced. And the fact that it is not yet being embraced 100%, maybe that is a conversation that needs to be addressed, and maybe that's where we need to start from before we even get to us talking of women getting even more spaces or even it becoming a right. We still need to figure out this opportunity that we're being given. Have we really been given? Because we'll talk about the 2/3, but when you look at companies still have 1 out of 10 men sitting in management, and same thing happens in our country. You'll find that we have, at least now, there are counties that have a few women in top positions. But yes, what I'm just trying to say is, before we even get to before we even get to fighting with the men, we need to first deal with this 2/3. Are we really? Is it really happening? Have we done it in our businesses? Have we done it in our families? Have we done it in our organizations? In our country, are we even trying to? So as it is right now, yes, we still have men sitting in the top management, and they're still the ones who are making bigger decisions. But can they at least try and bring us in before we even start having the conversation of let's bring in the men? Yeah.
Oh, that's quite insightful. I have two questions coming from what you've just said, and number one is the flip side of being given is actually taken. How much of that is being explored by women, in a sense that women need to wake up to the fact that it is okay for them to take those opportunities, to agitate for those opportunities, and to fight for them, because the way I look at it from a man's perspective, all that men have are they are not necessarily given to men. Men take things, and a lot of what makes them custodians of what you're saying, many things. And the reason why they have this sense of right over the many things is because they fight to get those things, and they are very aggressive. I know all of us agree that men are usually very aggressive. They just go for things, and they don't mind fighting for things. So have in your opinion as a woman, and speaking about this from the knowledge and the practice that you've had, how much of this are women doing in terms of bridging the gap?
Well, women. You see how I look at it also is women are fighters, but I tend to feel like women are more at a riskier position, so they cannot fight as much as men fight, because they would be putting themselves in a very risky place. You see, also, we need to appreciate the fact that men and women can never be alike. So how I fight for things and how a man fights for things is very different. So I might be fighting for a position, or a man might be fighting also for the same position. But I stand up as I'll give an example of maybe politics. So when women and men are running the same race, like say they're vying for a seat, an MP seat, the cases that you hear of women on the ground is very different from the cases you hear of men on the ground. Women can be stripped naked. Women are harassed, and they will be harassed in a very immoral way. But a man will not face the same kind of harassment. The most a man will probably face is his life being threatened, or him being beaten, or which is the same thing that a woman will face. But a woman will not be sexually abused. He will not be. He will not go through the whole immoral. He will not go through immorality. Also, for a woman, the woman will look at her family. So in the event, maybe her family has been threatened, or her children has been. It's very emotionally draining, and it's too hard on a woman as opposed to a man. So what am I trying to say? Women fight, but not in the same way as men. Women might come out of the race because of the things that they're going through, and it's simply because whatever she's going through might not be necessarily what the man is going through. So I think if we're to look at fighting, I feel like it's different. It's also the same as companies, whereby you want to sit in the decision making table, but someone is controlling you. And how is this person controlling you? They're controlling your career. They have ways of controlling women, and it's not the same way a man is controlled. So before you could be a leader, but you don't have the voice to speak into the governance. You could be a woman sitting somewhere, and you're trying to fight for the good of that company, for the good of that organization, for the good of the country. But someone somewhere is watching you, and they feel like you're threatening them. They feel like, why is this person really seeking for accountability that much? So you become a threat. A man, on the other hand, a man can fight, but it cannot be. He stands a better chance when it comes to being threatened than the woman. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yes, you have. And the reason why I asked that question is because behind the spirit to fight and really to put up a fight is usually a strong sense of worthiness. You know, men go for things they feel they are worthy of, and that's actually what makes a difference. I know there are so many examples. There are very many people that have given the example of how men and women apply for jobs, and it has been said that men, as long as they have a few of what's needed in the qualifications, they would give it a shot, and women would in many instances avoid such opportunities, even when what they are lacking is maybe one or two of the qualifications. So that if you look at the reason behind this, is this strong sense of worthiness. I don't know whether it's worthiness, but I feel a lot more men feel worthy of the things they're trying to pursue, and a lot more women feel unworthy even for the things that they are actually given. We've seen very many of them given an opportunity and they feel like, no, this not me, give it to somebody else. I don't know what your thought is about this.
You know, sometimes women, I might be a bit biased, but men do it for them, but women do it for the people. So a man will do it for his ego. He will do it because he feels like, I need to satisfy myself on this. But a woman will look at a future. She will look at, why are we doing this? What do we intend to achieve? What do I want to get after this? What do I see for this company? What do I see for this country? What do I see for this business? So she will look at a future. She will not look at a now. And I think that's why even when I spoke about leadership, and I said that a leader is someone who has a vision. And I feel like that is what a lot of the women have. They have a bigger vision, and a vision that is very clear. And it's not and even when they are fighting because they can see there's an end goal that they're fighting towards. They're not fighting for their own ego. And maybe that's the difference.
We also know that men play games and men play to win. Actually, one of the mindsets of being a man is how much am I winning? Can I win this thing? It looks like men play to win, and as long as they are winning, they will keep playing. So that if you look at how we do politics, for example, a lot of men are into politics to show their competitors that, you know what, I can beat you in this game. Actually, whether they are people of value or not, as long as they have won, they feel like, I am better than you, and now that's it. I don't know if women play games. I don't know if they are really interested in winning, so that we see if this could be something they may want to learn from men so they can bring it into leadership and governance. I don't know what you think about that.
Everyone wants to win, but it's really not for. I could be wrong though, but I know that everyone wants to win, but our kind of win is not the same as the men win. You see, if I look at, but now this I think this applies to different. It applies to different to different people. I think in politics it's different. For in companies, organizations, it's different. For businesses, it's also different. So there's that need for winning in various. I think everyone has their own way of looking at a win. So yeah, so in politics it could be very different. The win could actually be, yes, I won and I beat you to this. For companies it's different, maybe, whereby someone is looking at, I have a vision for this and I need this to work. For businesses it's the same thing. It could be, I need my business to work because I have a vision for this business. I'm talking about the SMEs, or maybe that one is competitive, whereby you want to be better than the person next door. I think that one could be, that one applies differently to some extent.
Yeah, I believe that there's a way it affects the way we deploy ourselves around certain things. For example, men naturally believe that they have to hunt things down, and if you look at the sensitivity of a hunter, look at how they scan the environment, look at how they think, look at how they strategize in the mind, look at how they coordinate their movements and stuff like that. A hunter knows that I have to be strategic enough to be able to intercept whatever I'm hunting and get it down, and that does not leave you the same. You are never the same when you're a hunter, because you carry that mindset around. You carry that sensitivity of scanning the environment and either creating opportunities and spotting them and quickly jumping into it. So that in my mind, I'm thinking maybe this is what makes men deploy themselves faster around certain things. We may not be able to explain it that way, but there has to be a reason why the numbers are playing the way they are playing. The culture we are seeing, which we blame for some of the resistances we are seeing, that culture must be coming from somewhere. It must be inspired by certain things, so that if we can be able to understand that and probably have women who are interested in getting into leadership and governance learn some of these tactics and traits, then they can use them to navigate. Because if all we will do is to wait for the opportunity to be given, and we don't maximize on the angle of taking opportunities or creating opportunities and maximizing on them, then we are always going to have a lopsided situation.
Yeah. That I agree with you. on that angle, I agree with you. But I think also it's, if we are not taken as a threat. You see, there's also that aspect whereby women are taken as a threat. And maybe the man feels like, okay, this one is coming to take over, and she's going to steal my shine, or she's going to take over my shine. So maybe if we all worked together, as opposed to in competition, and as opposed to us or women being taken as a threat, then maybe that would work.
That's a very interesting thing you're raising, because I know that there are certain situations where women are not seen as a threat. For example, when it is a daughter, then she's not a threat. She's supported and given all that she needs, especially from the dad and maybe the brothers. But when it is a wife or a female colleague or something, then she's a threat. So she's not always seen as a threat. She's seen as a threat depending on the prevailing circumstances.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I've always felt like it's the conversation has always been women are a threat. Unless from where I sit, unless from where I sit, that's how it is. But I've always picked the vibe of a woman is a threat. It doesn't matter where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the situation. It just doesn't matter the situation. Yes.
So are women threats, or do they have the capability of becoming threats?
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's why I said I think it goes down to culture. It boils down to culture, because our culture is what has brought out all this. Because the fact that we had already been again socialized to believe that women have this, or women are supposed to be this, and men are supposed to be this, that, then maybe that is where the problem started. Because everyone had a role that had been defined. And then now we live in a society whereby women have decided, you know what, that is not my place. My place is not in the house. My place is not in the kitchen. My place, yes, it could be yes, it is in the kitchen, but not full time. Yeah. And then now we have the man who, yes, the man believes that he's the leader, but he also has tendencies that are not leader-like, and there needs to be someone to guide him on how to go about things. So now this person the person, like for example, in companies whereby we have a management team that has men, and all these men only probably have, let's say in a group of 5 men, maybe 2 men are leaders. They're the ones who possess the qualities of a leader. But now the other 3 do not have the qualities of a leader. The other 3 they're terrible. They've run the company badly, and they're not able to run. Technically, even employees just feel like these ones are not very good leaders. So in a situation like that, it becomes very difficult for the woman who is just maybe below him to maybe approach the bad leader, for lack of a better word, the bad leader, and advise, and maybe tell them, you know what, maybe you should do things this way as opposed to this way. And this other person believes that, you know what, I am the man, I am the one who's supposed to make the decision here. What are you telling me? So it creates a conflict. And this conflict is what now makes people think that the women are coming to take over, or the women are coming the women are becoming a threat. And probably that is not the case. It's just that maybe someone has seen something and they need to guide someone, but the kind of guidance that they're giving is not really taken positively. So yeah.
Talking about women being threats, are there times when women become threats to fellow women?
Yes, that one has been there.
What is that?
Women have all. You know the way we normally say sometimes that women are their own best enemies. As much as yes, women might not want to accept that, it is there, and it has always it is there. It has been there, and as opposed to women becoming threats to men, women are threats to fellow women. So, and that is where maybe competition comes in. Competition has always been amongst women. It's normally among a woman to a woman, and it's a very small percentage whereby there's competition between a man and a woman, or a woman and a man. Yeah, but I think 90% is a woman to woman competition. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Now, this is 8:50 p.m. We have less than 10 minutes to finish this conversation. I told you earlier that when the conversation begins, time runs out pretty fast. But I know we wasted some 20 minutes or something like that at the beginning. But the conversation is quite exciting to me. I love what we are discussing here and what I'm hearing from your end. We are talking about the importance of women inclusion in leadership and governance, and our guest today is Nyokabi Ngari, trying to help us to break down this conversation into chunks that we can consume and understand. And you have talked about something very important. You talked about the 2/3 gender rule. The 2/3 gender rule, the origin of it is actually agitation. I think you can remember that.
Yeah.
They made noise. And now it was felt like, well, these women are making a lot of noise. Why don't we craft something here and allow them a little something? One of the things I'm seeing as a challenge to the 2/3 gender rule is the misinterpretation of that law. A lot of places I have seen the law being interpreted to mean 1/3 of the group must be women and 2/3 must be men, because it still looks like men are giving the opportunity to women. Now, it's very few instances where you have majority women and minority men. I don't know what your experience is with this.
Sorry, you said? I didn't get the last part.
In many spaces, we have majority men and minority women, so that the rule is interpreted to mean 1/3 of the group must be women and 2/3 must be men. I don't know what your experience has been with this. Have you seen places where it is the women who are giving the men an opportunity for inclusion?
To be very honest, yes, that has happened. That has happened because I'll give you a recent experience. When we were drafting the women in government, it's the women there. What is that word? I'm forgetting. There's the gender mainstreaming. The gender mainstreaming, and there's the gender. When we were trying to work on the gender policy for Nairobi County, we found that there were more women than men, and we really needed to give men an opportunity to come and sit in and maybe give, because you see, also another challenge we have is that people think that gender is women, but gender is both men and women.
Yes.
So in a situation like that, you'll find that men do not want to be in that conversation because they think it's about women, but that's not the case. There needs to be an input of men in something like the gender mainstreaming policy. So those are some of the instances where you'll find that men are not there, and women are trying to figure out how to bring the men on board. So a lot of times it's anything to do with women. That is where there's lack of men participation. In fact, when you look at even in our government, when you look at committees, you'll find that the men who are in committees, like now the people you'll find that men are in committees to do with what they believe is a heavy muscle dockets.
Yes.
Like now say something like engineering, but now women will all be put in something like gender, and you'll find that maybe there's no man there. There's really no male, and those are now instances where you find that gender role is not there. There's a gap technically. Yeah.
The interpretation, the role of socio-cultural and religious, what I would call this is these undertones. Let me just call them undertones. A lot of times we show up in life under the influence of social order, cultural conditioning, and religious influence. So when you look at frontline practice in either in governance or in the corporate world, a lot of what people see and say and do is actually cultural practice. We are practicing gender roles. The boss, in fact, the word boss, it has a male connotation to it, so that the gender rule, actually, I like the statement you say that many people think gender is women. The gender rule actually is thought to mean that this is the instrument that was created to allow the women to participate. And if you look at the understanding of authority and control, in many spaces, you will feel like you'll realize that control, it is felt to be control when there are either more men or there are men in positions of influence. So that the 2/3 gender rule, in my opinion, one of the challenges it has, which came from how it was created, is that there is a lot of the influence of cultural. There is cultural influence in it, and I think the 2/3 gender rule was the spirit behind it is tokenism. Let's give them something to keep quiet, because it was a lot of agitation. And if you look at the people who were present when they were discussing it and passing it, most of them were men.
Yes.
So that even the interpretation of that is to mean, let's give a third. Let's give a third, at least some slots to women, so that we are seen to, include these people in the thing. So that when we talk about resistance, some of them are structural resistance because we made errors in crafting those structures, so they came out with structural errors, if I may say that.
Yeah. Was that a comment?
It was a comment, and actually, I was just trying to strengthen the question that I had asked earlier, whether this instrument is strong enough to save the situation, or it is causing us to create another set of trouble. If we rely on the 2/3 gender rule and we say, okay, let's go this way. When you began talking about that, you seem to have the understanding that it is 2/3. But in many instances, when you go to spaces where people are discussing it, it sounds like it's a third for women.
Yeah, because that's how you see. There's what is written on the paper, and there's what is there.
What do you mean?
So I feel like, the way in Kenya we say
the situation.
The situation on the ground is different.
Yes.
So so that happens a lot in our country. Yeah, and that's why you'll find that there are spaces where we have so many women but only have one male, and that one male is going to be called a he for she. Then you go to other spaces where you find we have so many men and maybe a female, and that female is called an alpha. Yeah, and so we try and fight so much, but then we keep losing in the process. Yeah. Because we always try and define everything. You make progress somewhere, then you decide to redefine because you really don't want to look like you're winning. So yeah.
Oh, that's quite insightful. We are now clicking 9 o'clock, and I want us to pull the curtains on this conversation, but I'll ask you one more question, then allow you to give your final remarks, and then we shall call it a fruitful discussion. So in your opinion, what do you suggest women should do and men should do, and the policy environment should be done for, so that we are able to realize the aspiration of having more women involved in leadership and governance?
So I think men and women should work together for starters. And in this, and what I mean by that is for us to have policies that make sense, for us to have policies that, for us to even have women included in leadership and governance, we need to have policies that actually support women. But we can only have policies supporting women if we have women sitting in those policy development tables, because they're the ones who will they're the ones who will give their side of the story. They're the ones who are going to give solutions that work for them, as opposed to men sitting and discussing women, and they have no clue what is happening. Like, for example, anyway, I wanted to give a story about, but it's okay. So if women are not given an opportunity to sit in decision-making tables, then it's very difficult for them to have policies that work for them, and that leads to them not being able to sit in decision-making tables, because there are no policies that govern that. So men and women should work together, and maybe men should also not look at women as a threat. If they just embrace working with women, it would be it would work for everybody. And governance, as I said, we need a way of having accountable. We need a way of accountability, and having people like women who are very huge on accountability would work for our country, and would work for our companies in so many ways.
So what is your comment about the policy environment? I understand the 2/3 gender rule should be expiring in about 7 years. We may get another opportunity to restructure the thing. In my opinion, I feel